Welcome back to another episode of Harmonious at Lunch, the show that fuels your business success. I'm Brandon Gano, your host and guide through the world of harmonious business growth. Today, we're unlocking powerful strategies with industry experts to help your business thrive. If you're a business owner, entrepreneur, or executive, you are in the right place. Join me and our incredible guests today on the journey to clarity, growth, and success. It is time to revolutionize your approach to business. Let's dive in with another episode of Harmonious at Lunch. Welcome back to some more bite-sized business advice. We got a doozy of an episode lined up today. You're going to get yelled at, and I'm going to get yelled at because we're making mistakes when we're networking. I can think of a couple of mistakes right off the bat here, but we're going to pause. We're going to wait on that. We'll be yelled at in a little bit. I want to bring on my amazing guest here, and she's going to unpack both her story of business success through networking, business survival through COVID. So we got a lot to unpack here. So Faithann, Basore, welcome to the show. Thank you for being here.
Thank you so much, Brandon, for having me. It's a true honor.
Yeah. So we got to know each other a little bit before we started recording here, and some of the things you were saying kind of blew my mind, honestly, about how just something as simple as networking, which I think as small business owners and entrepreneurs, we take for granted and we definitely don't do effectively.
Right.
But I want to hear your story of how you stumbled upon networking as an effective marketing and business growth tool.
Well, thank you, Brandon. We bought a window cleaning route for my brother, and we're in the Oklahoma City area, and we bought his route 10 years ago. And when we first purchased his route, it was largely commercial window cleaning. And when I became involved in the business, we didn't have $1,000 a month Google AdWords budget. But what we had was time. I had time. And so I started attending networking meetings, and I joined a weekly networking meeting called BNI. And it was through BNI that I was able to build enough relationships and really broaden our scope of work so that when COVID came in 2020, I believe that it's my networking group that kept us in business. And what I mean by that is the very first referral that we received in my networking group was for a service that we really didn't know how to do that well. It was, can you come clean my house windows? And when we bought the route, it was largely commercial, but I didn't want to say no. You know, it's easy to type, no, we don't do that to a Google ad, but it's a lot harder to say no to somebody that you know that you're going to see. And I felt like I was such a privilege to be in this group that I was in, that they'd given me the major league jersey, and I wanted to live up to my jersey. So we said yes. So that was in 2018. So from 2018 to 2020, we became very good at residential window cleaning, not just commercial. And then 2020 came, and there was a weekend in March where our commercial business dropped about 40% over a weekend. But our residential clients were saying, are you still going to be here on Tuesday? Which is something I would have never dreamed would have happened, but it happened. And I attribute that to my ability to build relationships and trust with really connected people in the community who then told their friends, who then told their friends, who then told their friends. And we were able to, make it through that difficult year of COVID.
Yeah, it's crazy too, because so I didn't understand it was 2 years prior to COVID that you started doing that. I thought it was, right around the COVID time. But that's interesting how you were prepared for it just because of that diversification. And I think for a lot of people, don't mishear me here. Like, it's not, you don't always want to diversify. So let me unpack this a little bit, because this is some really bad advice in the marketplace that I hear a lot from other people who are in my position as consultants, coaches, whatever they want to call themselves. We are very specific on when our clients diversify and when they don't, and they stick to what they're best at. So for you in that business in 2018, aside from the, I guess the fear of saying no to someone you had to see over and over, which is totally okay. What caused you to say, okay, maybe this is a good time to take on a totally different product line? Because you're right, those two are vastly different. Working with commercial customers and residential customers, I imagine the invoices are much different. The routes are much different. The time spent on a project is much different. So how did you analyze whether this is good or bad for your business?
Well, since day one of buying the route, I wanted to play with the big boys. I wanted to do everything that normal businesses were doing. And my husband and I did not come to the table with a whole lot of experience as business owners. And again, it just goes back to these groups. I was seeing these business owners. What are they doing? Because they were successful, and it wasn't like we changed industries. We didn't become roofers. We just we just kind of broadened and faced our fears. And now, there isn't really much difference between commercial residential. But I'll tell you what. As a window cleaner, I mean, I would say any service-based profession should have residential as part of their book of business, because there's so much need. When a commercial client, when things get tight, if window cleaning's the first thing to go. But a residential client, if you're serving different clients who are retired, who already have a house cleaner, they're not as they're not affected by these things that happen as much as a business owner would be. So for a business owner, we're the first to go, but for that homeowner, we might be, 10th to go. Like, it has to get really bad before they fire us. So it was a combination of wanting to be good at everything that we could, and a combination of understanding that really, it's almost like it's a better client for us. But we didn't know that, because when we bought it, it was just a route. So it took the networking. It took somebody saying, I have confidence in you, Faithann. I think you can do this, for us to say, oh, okay, well, let's try. And let's just pray that first one goes well. And we muddled through it, but we got better. It didn't take long. And now I'm helping people understand that it's relationships, that for networking, it's relationships. It's not about trying to pitch to everybody in the room. It's relationships.
Yeah, I mean, I'm a huge proponent of saying not only networking, business is networking, or relationships, excuse me. It's human to human. We are not just there to sell stuff. We're there to build relationships and help people, regardless of your industry. So I'm on board with this topic. I remember a number of years ago, I had a local service-based business that I sold last year, and that's how I grew the business, was just building relationships. I too went to networking events, and this is what I want to talk about, is the mistakes. You could pick up the mistakes people are making. Not that I've really quantified or put words to them. I know you have 3 mistakes for us, but the one that I hated the most, and I hope you talk about it, is it's always the same people. It's the real estate agent and the insurance broker, and they walk over and they give you their business card and they say, if you need insurance, I'm your guy. And I'm like, piss off. Okay. Yes. I don't. Go away. So Faithann, please, what are these 3 mistakes we're making at networking events?
That was my number one, was interrupting people's conversations to pass out your business card. If you want to pass something out at a networking meeting, pass out compliments, pass them out like decks of cards. Don't interrupt the people who are connecting with each other, to come in the middle of that and say, I have such little patience and confidence in myself that the only way that you're ever going to get my card is if I interrupt you and shove it in your face. You're putting no trust in a process that works, and you're being very egotistical, very short-sighted. Pass out compliments instead of business cards. And I have a rule about my business cards, and this has just kind of evolved in the last 6-7 months since I've been writing my blog. I don't give my business card to anybody that doesn't ask for it. Because when they ask for it, it's kind of like the proof. It's like, oh, I've connected with you on a level that you might be interested in talking to me again. Even when they ask for it, it doesn't guarantee that they're going to want to talk to you again. But there's no guarantee if you shove it in their face and they haven't even asked you for it. There's just no way that card's going to be brought. It's going to go to the trash can immediately, or wherever people put cards that they don't want to talk to. So that's number one. Yeah, don't do that. Trust the process of networking more, and you will be rewarded more.
Yeah, I don't want to spoil the other two. I'm not going to say what I think they are, but that's a huge pet peeve for me. I want you to call me crazy here. I don't have business cards. I don't bring business cards. I've thrown that practice away. I don't even do the digital crap anymore. What I do personally is, because I've noticed if someone comes up to me with a card, they want mine in return so they can call me on Tuesday.
Right.
That's totally fine. I'm not giving you my number. But those are the only people that are really asking for it. My personal strategy is I schedule a meeting on my calendar. We have a 15, 30-minute coffee chat, whatever it is. Like, hey, this is a hectic environment. Let's have a surface level conversation. I'd love to go deep with you on Tuesday or Wednesday of this week if you're up for it. Not a sales pitch, not a sales conversation, just like a, hey, one-to-one, let's get to know each other. So I personally, I've just totally done away with business cards. I don't know if that's in line with your strategy or tip number 2 or 3, but that's worked for me at least.
Yeah, if you're not going to have a business card, you want to pull up a calendar. And because, sometimes people give us buying signals, and we want to make sure that we are taking advantage. If someone's interested in what you have to say, you don't want to frustrate them. So either a card or pull up your calendar right away. That's great. My dogs are okay. So
we love dogs here on this show.
So are you,
so
ready for number 2?
Yes, hit me. What do you got?
Okay. So number 2, oftentimes in networking meetings, there's an opportunity for each person to stand up and say what they do, talk about their business. At least in Oklahoma, that's a thing. And in BNI, regionally or across the country, it's a thing. And often people want to stand up and tell the room all about the bells and whistles of their business. And I'm great, and I've been in business 20 years, and it's the best place I've ever worked. And it just goes, people can't remember that. So instead of trying to tout your bona fides in 30 seconds, which you're never going to be able to do in 30 seconds anyway, even if you gave the perfect information, 30 seconds or a minute's not long enough. Tell the room who you're looking for. So in window cleaning, I will say, today I'm looking for the business owner who has just moved in to a brick and mortar location, and they're ordering a sign. Well, that's the perfect person for me, because if they're ordering a sign, it means they're trying to get their location ready. Or I might say, I'm looking for the homeowner who has just hired a house cleaner. That's the perfect time for me to get in there, because they're already in that mode of, okay, I'm going to hire some things out. Window cleaning, house cleaning. So if I stood up and said, we've been in business for 10 years and we've done this and we've done that and we've done that, I haven't helped the room find a referral for me. And isn't that why we're all there? We wanted referrals. So we have to help people look for that. I mean, we don't always know. I mean, and sometimes we can get so wrapped up in our own business that we think other people know all about what we would look for, but they really don't, unless you tell them.
Yeah, I mean, that's a good tip too, because you're thinking like, oh, okay, window cleaning. I know somebody who has windows. Duh, everyone has windows. But that's not who you're looking for, and that doesn't help that person filter in their head, oh, how can I help Faithann and her business and serve her business? Well, now I know specifically 2 people, what they look like, what activities they're taking right now, and I can connect them with her and her business. That's awesome. I love that. So number 3 then. What's the third?
Number 3. Okay, now let's say, imagine you've gone to the networking meetings and it's about relationships, and you haven't done the icky thing with shoving business. You've made true connections, and you've told people how to look, what you're looking for, and now that person that you've been to 3 or 4 networking meetings with has a referral for you. So the top mistake in that situation would be not following up with a referral you receive. That's terrible, because when that person is referring you, they are taking a little bit of their insides and they're attaching it to that referral. They are giving part of their reputation away to the person that they are close with by saying, you should really call Brandon. He can help you with that. And if you are not, as the person being referred, Johnny on the spot, as soon as that comes in, first thanking the person who has referred you and reaching out and asking the person who's referred you, what's the best way for that person to be contacted? Don't assume that whatever the way you like to be contacted is the way that the person referring is going to be contacted. Because what if it's the 80-year-old grandmother? My guess is that the 80-year-old grandmother is probably not going to want email or a Facebook message. They might want a phone call. But then a 21-year-old college student probably won't even answer the phone. If they don't know who it is, they're not going to answer. So we want to, first of all, follow up. And then we want to be aware of the best way to follow up so that it's easy and so that the person who gave you that referral shines. You want them to shine, because if they can't shine, they're not going to refer you again. You're going to be on a blacklist if you don't take good care of the referrals you receive.
Yeah, that's the downside of relying on referrals, right? Is like if you mess one up, well, that person who referred you is cut you off of their list forever.
Yeah.
Because that's their reputation. So that's a very important principle. So tell me, if let's say I referred you somebody, you do a fantastic job for them. It comes back to me. I hear you did a good job. I want to refer more. Do you have a strategy ongoing to help me continue to refer people to you? Or do you do anything like surprise gifts or thank you letter? I'm just curious how you keep your referral network stimulated and engaged.
The number one way is continuing to meet with them. Have one-to-one meetings on a regular basis, continue to attend the same meetings. And then sometimes people aren't sure how to connect, and it's okay to send them a script. Like if they just there's this person, he's a decision maker at company X, and I want to introduce you to him. This has happened. Like I would rather the person I want to refer send me a script, because then I just take that script and email. So it's okay to do that too, is to make it super easy for somebody to refer you. And yes, you want to nurture that relationship. And the other thing you can do is say, Sally has sent me 8 people in the last 2 months. How can I send Sally a referral? I mean, really think. Like, don't wait for a referral to jump in your lap for Sally. Let's say she's a financial planner. Well, then you actually go through your phone and you say, I wonder who I could at least talk to about Sally. How could I bring her up? Understand how I can find a referral for Sally, who's been so generous with me. That's a great way, is reciprocate.
Yeah, that's good advice. I'm curious too. How do you feel about referral commissions as kind of another strategy? That's the one that we predominantly rely on. If someone refers business to us, we give them a percentage of whatever business we get from them. And that's how we can, say thank you, at least in the short term, and then continue to support them long term too. But how do you feel about that? Do you use that strategy? And then also, is that the lazy method rather than sending them a referral back?
I think it's good to have referral commissions if you do that as a company, and you want to be very clear. When you do that, you need to be very clear about what qualifies, because you don't want somebody disappointed. I gave you John's number. Where's my check? Well, did John turn into a client? And very specific. How is that going to work specifically? Don't make assumptions that the person's going to know. And I don't think it's lazy, but for me, I'd much rather have a conversation with Sally and her tell me, Faithann, you've sent me so much business. I'm going to introduce you. I'm going to have a lunch. I'm going to set up a 3-way lunch with you and my dad and me. Like for me, but it might be just because my personality. I don't know, but I'd rather have that than, a check for $80 or something. But
yeah, and I'm sure you could ask people too. I'm sure you could just say like, hey, I appreciate you sending me this. Our typical strategies, we send a 20% commission. Or would you rather I introduce you to somebody? And then for you, you would say, you know what, I would love an introduction.
Introductions. Yeah. Because the introduction, you don't know what could lead to. That's
Right.
like the golden egg, the goose, not the egg. That could lead to many, many, many more jobs where the check is to one time. Not, and I'm not saying it's a bad thing, but I would always rather have an introduction.
That's okay. I'm being lazy, but I at least now know that I'm being lazy, and I can
No.
offer that. I can offer that option. Say, would you
Mm,
like an introduction, a referral? Would you like whatever it is?
mhm.
That's fantastic. Well, Faithann, this kind of blew by. This conversation was amazing. Went by very quickly. I put your blog on the screen. If you're listening, it's also down in the show notes. The networkerstourguide.com/blog. What do you share on your blog? I'm curious.
Oh, there's many, many articles, and I go into what a new person who's terrified to network might find helpful, all the way to um, what small things that make a big difference in your networking. And then I would say from a brand new person to like how to start your own networking group. So somebody who's seasoned but they want to start their networking group. So there's many, many articles. It's about networking, and if you're frustrated with your networking efforts, peruse and see if maybe there's some things you could do, some small changes to make to have more impact.
Yeah, small changes, big impact. I'm a huge fan of that. So I'm going to put you on the spot here. It's the last question. First of all, thank you for an outstanding interview. A lot of juicy information here, as we promised in the beginning. So we didn't let you down.
Hmm.
But if someone's going into a networking event, or whatever you want it to be about, this show and my company, you can see it behind me if you're watching, is all about questions. Ask better questions, you'll get better answers. What is the
Hmm.
one question that you would offer to a listener to ask themselves to get a better result when attending a networking event?
To ask themselves,
Yeah, if I'm walking into a networking event, what should I be asking myself in my head to get a better result out of that event?
I would ask myself, how can I truly connect with at least one person here?
Mm,
And that will guide you. If it's about getting a business, it can't happen in one meeting. It's never going to happen in one meeting unless, your house is on fire and you're a fireman. But other than that, it takes time, and people have to see that you are genuine before they're ever going to hand over $1 to you. And it doesn't matter what it is. If you're not genuine and you don't care about them, they're not going to separate their money from themselves to give it to you.
amen. Such a beautiful way to put it too.
Mhm.
Business is all about relationships. That, and if you get nothing else from this episode, just stop throwing business cards at people. Please have a
Yes,
strategy and a
yes,
purpose behind
please.
it.
Right, right.
If we could do nothing else but eliminate the business card slapping mentality,
Mhm.
then we've had a good episode here. So, Faithann, thank you so much for being a guest on the show today.
Thank you, Brandon. I had a great time.
Same here. And for those of you listening, I hope you had a great time too. I hope you got a lot from this episode and you have a new strategy, you have a new outlook, at least, on networking events. Ask yourself that question, throw out your business cards, except for maybe one or two to bring to each event. But make sure wherever you are, you subscribe to this ridiculous show that is Harmonious at Lunch. We love disrupting your mindset about business every single weekday, and we want to continue to do that so you achieve your business goals in a much shorter time period. Thanks for listening. We'll see you on the next